How does the greatest superpower in the ancient world completely destroy itself by accident? They lied to you about how the Athenian Empire actually fell. You've probably heard they were slowly defeated by Sparta in some glorious, honorable war. Yeah, not even close. The truth is, Athens committed the most arrogant, catastrophic military blunder in human history, leaving 40,000 of their own men to rot in a brutal stone quarry. But to understand this absolute nightmare, we have to go back to the moment the greed took over. It's the year 415 BC, and Athens is practically untouchable. They have the strongest navy on the planet, endless piles of silver, and an ego the size of the Parthenon. They're in the middle of the Peloponnesian War against Sparta, but things are kind of at a standstill. That is, until a young, ridiculously charismatic politician named Alcibiades stands up and pitches the most insane idea imaginable. He says, why don't we just sail over to Sicily and conquer Syracuse? Syracuse is this massive, wealthy city completely out of the way, and it has almost nothing to do with their current war. It was pure, unfiltered greed. The older, wiser general Nicias begs them not to do it. He tells them it's a suicide mission. But the people? They're completely blinded by the promise of endless loot. But the night before this massive fleet is supposed to set sail, something terrifying happens. Under the cover of darkness, a group of unknown vandals runs through the streets of Athens and mutilates the Hermai. These were sacred stone statues of the gods that stood outside almost every house and temple. They smashed their faces and other parts. In ancient Greece, this wasn't just vandalism. This was the ultimate bad omen, a direct curse on the entire expedition. Everyone instantly blames Alcibiades, claiming he did it in a drunken rage. But the Athenians are so hungry for gold that they basically say, we'll deal with this later. They launch the largest, most expensive military armada the Greek world has ever seen. Thousands of men, completely unaware they are sailing straight into a meat grinder. Now, you might think the sheer size of this army would guarantee a win, right? Well, you're about to see how quickly arrogance turns into absolute disaster. Right as the fleet reaches Sicily, the Athenian government changes its mind and orders Alcibiades to come back and stand trial for smashing those statues. Instead of facing the music, the guy who literally invented this entire invasion turns his ship around and defects to Sparta. He completely sells out his own city. He tells the Spartans exactly how to defeat the Athenians. So now the entire invasion is left in the hands of Nicias, the one guy who never wanted to go in the first place. Things unravel fast. Nicias is sick, overly cautious, and completely out of his depth. By the time Athens realizes they're losing and sends a massive wave of reinforcements, the trap has already snapped shut. The Syracusans, with help from Sparta, manage to block the exit to the great harbour. The invincible Athenian navy is literally locked inside a giant aquatic cage. But there's still a brief window to escape by land. They pack up, ready to run for their lives under the cover of night. And then a lunar eclipse happens. To us, it's just a shadow on the moon. To Nicias, it's a horrifying sign from the gods. His priests tell him he has to wait 27 days before moving. And that superstitious delay, it seals their fate. The Syracusans absolutely slaughter the trapped Athenian ships in the harbour. The surviving soldiers are forced to abandon their dead and march inland without food or water, constantly harassed by enemy cavalry. It ends in a horrific bloodbath at the Assinaros river. The Athenians are so desperately thirsty they trample each other to drink the river water, even as it turns completely red with their own blood. The lucky ones are killed instantly. The survivors? 7,000 of them are thrown into the deep, blazing hot stone quarries of Syracuse, given barely a handful of grain a day, and left to die of disease and exposure. Athens lost everything. Their entire fleet, their wealth, and an entire generation of their best men wiped out by their own arrogant greed. So, looking back at this absolute disaster, do you think Alcibiades was a traitor, or was the Athenian democracy just too toxic to survive?